looking for a mirror, and I think I found it in your eyes. She's been looking for a reason, and I think she found it in my mind.
And today, the Air Matte Lipstick matte lip. That's quite funny. Hi guys, welcome back to the Jolie Beauty channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how to get this warm fall inspired look using the Vivacious palette. So we asked you guys on Instagram what you'd like to see, and this is what you voted for. So I've done a orangey kind of halo eye with the palette and combined it with quite a strong lip. So I hope you guys like the look, and if you want to find out how to recreate it, then just keep on watching. But before we begin, we must drink tea. Fine, that's hot. So to start with this look, I'm going to start with the eyes. That's just because I'm planning on using quite a few pigmented colours. So I don't want the fallout to ruin my base. So I'm just going to start with the eyes, and then I can clean up really easily afterward. When I start with the eyes, I always start with the eyebrows. So I'm going to take the Budge Proof Brow Pomade by Jolie Beauty, and this is the shade Medium Ash Brown. And I'm going in with the number 10 eye brush, which is an angled brush like this. Fill them in a little bit and give them a little bit more definition. So is anybody else like really upset that Halloween is over? Because I am. I've been watching Sabrina the Teenage Witch recently, the new one on Netflix, and oh my god, I'm so obsessed. I love it. So I'm getting that creepy feeling all the way into fall and Christmas. I love it, it's brilliant. I was a real fan of the old series, so it's great to see the new one, and it's so different as well. I love it. When I'm filling in my brows, I always make sure to make the end a little bit more solid in colour, and through the front of the brow I just flick the brush up with a little bit of the product on, just to give it a little bit more of a lighter effect at the front of the brow, which makes it look more natural. So now my brows are nicely filled. I'm just going to carve them out with a little bit of concealer. I'm using the Born This Way multi-use sculpting concealer in the shade Vanilla, and I'm going to use the I06 brush from the Mythical Dreamers brush set. So carving out the brow may seem like an extra step to some people, but for me I feel like it really gives like a nice polished effect to the look. Just gives it something like I can't explain. So if you haven't tried it before, maybe really consider it, because I think it does give that extra little finish to any look. I quite like letting the concealer dry a little bit before I blend away the edges. This keeps it in place exactly where I want to put it. And I'm just taking a mini beauty blender, which I've dampened. I'm just going to go ahead and blend out those lines. When I'm blending the top of the lines. I'm keeping away from the brow area because you want to keep the line next to the brow really crisp. I'm just brushing through a bit of ABH Brow Gel in the shade Chocolate just to tame those brows. So now I'm going to prepare my eyes for the eyeshadow. My favourite thing to prepare the eye with at the minute is the P. Louise base in Rumour 01. You can use this to carve out your eyebrows as well, but because I've got quite a pale shade in this, sometimes it ends up looking a little bit ashy and unnatural, so that's why I went in with a concealer instead. If you've got a better shade match, you could just use the P. Louise to carve out and prepare your eye at the same time, which saves a little bit of a step for you. I quite like to apply the P. Louise base with the mini beauty blender. I see some people pat it on with a brush, but I think this kind of gives the same impression. It just pats it on and keeps it in place without any brush marks, so it gives a super smooth finish, just ready for your eyeshadow. As you can see, that blanks out any colour, ready for the eyeshadow to go on. I'm also going to run a touch of this underneath the eye because I am going to be going quite low with my eyeshadow today because we're doing a nice smoky fall look. So when working with the P. Louise base, there's no need to set it. You actually want the base to be tacky when you're applying the eyeshadows. So today the palette, as you can tell by the title, that I'm going to be using is the Vivacious Palette by Jolie Beauty, and we're really excited that this has been repackaged for this look today. I'm going to be doing like an autumn fall look, so I've got a plan of some oranges and reds, maybe a halo eye for this look. I'm really excited. So to create a halo eye, you need to take at least 3 colours that are complementary to one another. For this look, I'm going to take a light, a medium, and then a darker shade to blend together to give the look that we want. The colours that I'm going to go for are Zesty as our lightest colour, Player as our medium colour, and then I'm going to go in with a little bit of Stun here, and that's going to be our darker shade. With the halo eye, I'm going to first take the middle shade and I'm going to pack that all over the lid to start. The brush that I'm going to use to pack that is the number 5 eye brush from the Mythical Dreamers collection. I'm not going to go too high because we're going to blend this medium shade into our lighter shade, which was Zesty. So that's going to be slightly above. So I don't want to go too high with it. So I'm just going to keep it really on the lid and follow the natural shape of my eye. You can see how easily that packed on, and we haven't got any fallout at the moment, so that's great. So next up, I'm going into our lightest shade Zesty right here, and I'm taking that on the number 7 brush. So this is a small blending brush, and what we're going to do is concentrate on blending the orange tone we've put down, Player, into Zesty. So we want to take the shade, but I don't want to put it too high up at the moment. If I go in and I start trying to blend this too high, I'm going to end up with colour all the way to my brow. So what I want to do is just lay this shade just on the edges to begin with of the orange that we've put down. No higher than that. After we've laid the yellow down of Zesty, we're going to want to blend Zesty into the skin tone. This way we're going to get a nice gradiated effect and still have space here by the brow bone. So it's really important that you just don't go too high, because otherwise you will end up with eyeshadow all the way up to your brow, which can look a little crazy. I'm just pushing that pigment into the top line of where we lay the orange down. Because this brush is so small, it's really easy to control where the colour's going, which is great. Now we want to blend that yellow into the skin a little bit more. So I'm just taking a clean number 3 blending brush from the Mythical Dreamers set. And this is a slightly larger blending brush. And I'm just going to go over the edges of where we laid that yellow and start using circular motions up into the brow bone, but not taking it too high. You have to make sure that this brush is extra clean, because if you have any remnants of any colours on it, then it will definitely show up and make your work look a little bit murky. So just nice circular motions, just buffing that in to the brow bone. Don't be worried about bringing this all out a little bit, because we'll be cleaning up this area at the end anyway. Just make sure it's nice and blended. Okay, so now we're going to go into the darker shade. So the darker shade that I'm going to include into the look is this shade here, which is Stun. And to get a proper halo effect on the eye, you want to put the darker shade in the corner here at the edge and then connect them. What we need to really concentrate on now is getting the dark shade down and blending it into the existing orange that we've got. So there's going to be a little bit of back and forth between the red and the orange to get that to sit nicely on the eye. So I'm going to take the number 8 eye brush. This is a flat brush, and I'm just going to pack on the pigment and just lay it where I want it to be, bearing in mind that I need to keep room for blending too. So I'm going to start on the outer corner of the eye, and you can see that's created a bit of a harsh line, but don't worry, we're going to blend that into the orange in a minute. And I'm going to do the same on the inner corner. Just make sure you don't bring this pigment too high up. So now that pigment's in place and I've got it on the outer corner and inner corner, I'm just going to go back in with the Player colour, which is the middle orange. And I'm going to use a small blending brush, the number 7, just to get rid of that harsh line and blend everything together. So I'm just going to start here and just keep blending away, just to mix all the shades. You might have found that your lightest shade at the top has got a little bit lost. Just feel free to kind of go with your eye and just pop a little bit back in if you feel like it's been blended away a little bit too much. So once everything's nicely blended out with all the mattes, we're going to start creating the halo for the center of the eye. From the Vivacious palette, we're going to be using this shade here, which is Orb. But first, I'm going to lay down some of the P. Louise base, just so it stands out even more than usual. And the easiest way to create a cut crease halo is just to pat on the pigment in the center of the eye. Now, depending on your eye shape will depend on how high you want to take this. For me personally, I have quite a hooded eye. I don't really want to go too high above my crease. So I just pat a little bit of the base on and then I just look up a little bit and that gives me my guideline there. Also, I want to follow the shape of my eye. If you make this too curvy or straight, it can look a little bit strange. So make sure you're just checking when you're looking in the mirror to make sure that it's following your natural shape. When I look straight up, I want that to sit directly above where my pupil is when I'm looking straight. Yeah, and that looks pretty good. I'm just going to do the same on the other side, just so I can see exactly what it's going to look like together. So don't worry too much if it's not completely neat. We're going to cover this all with shadows anyway and blend it in, because obviously it does look a little bit scary when you look forward like that. But don't worry, we're going to fix it all up and make it look really blended in and lovely. So first of all, we're going to go in with Orb, which is the gold that I pointed out. And I'm just going to take the same brush and just lay that on top of everywhere that we've put the base. When I'm working with metallic shades, sometimes I like to wet my brush. So I'm just using a little bit of the Mario Badescu Rose Water. I'm packing that shade all over the lid, everywhere that I put the P. Louise base. Don't worry about getting it too neat because we're going to neaten it up and blend it all in a mo. So now that that gold pop is on, you can see it looks really nice and intense, but we need to blend it into the colours that we've already laid down. So the first colour that we're going to start off with is our middle colour again, which is Player. And then we're just going to blend that into the yellow first of all. I'm going to use the same brush that I've been using for the Player colour, which is the number 7 eye brush, which is a nice small little blending brush. I'm just blending this line into the gold, just to soften the edge. And then I'm just going to go back into the darkest colour, which is Stern right here, and I'm just going to redarken all the areas that we put it before, just to make sure the intensity is still there. Just on that inner corner and the outer corner. So now that the top eyeshadow's done, I'm just going to line my eyes a little bit. I'm using the Illamasqua Precision Gel Liner in the shade Infinity, and I'm just going to take the number 10 angled brush just to tight line my eyes. Next, I'm going to take a little bit of the Tattoo Liner by Kat Von D. And I'm just going to pop that as lashes as possible. Just a standard line. I'm not going to bring any flick out or anything, because I feel like this part of the shadow is so nice. I don't really want to cover it with a wing. So I'm just going to leave it as is. So that's how bold I'm going to go with the liner, so nothing bolder than that. I'm just going to do a quick bit of mascara on the top lashes. This is a new one actually for me. It's called Poppy Austin and it's a cruelty-free and vegan mascara. So I've been really liking this one. Since I've had lash extensions, my lashes have been a bit damaged. So this has got like lots of good ingredients like argan oil, etc. So I really like using this at the moment. Has anyone else ever had lash extensions and had them completely damaged your natural lashes? Because for me, I feel like mine are taking so long to recover. I had them for my wedding day, which was about 6 or 7 weeks ago now. They are taking forever to grow back, so I won't be doing that again. I'm gonna prep my skin as always with the Uniglow serum. Just gonna take a couple of drops of that and massage it into my skin. This is such a treat. Oh, honestly, if you want a really nice glow to the face, then this product will do that. I'm going to follow that up with the Neod Photography Fluid Opacity in 12%. This just helps you with photography basically. So if you're photographing a look, it helps make your skin look a little bit more flawless because it reflects the light. For base today, I'm using Illamasqua Skin Base in the shade 7.5, and I'm just going to work that into my skin with the number 2 face brush from the Mythical Dreamers brush set. If you like full coverage, then this brush is definitely the way to achieve that. I always pull so many faces when I'm putting on foundation. I'm like, I can't help it. Next, I'm going in with concealer. I'm going back to the Too Faced Born This Way again in the same shade Vanilla. I'm going to use this to do a little bit of highlighting as well. So I'm going to just pop a bit under my eyes, towards the middle of my face, a little bit on my chin, under my cheekbone, and a little bit on my forehead as well, and a tiny bit down my nose. I'm going to blend that underneath the eyes with my mini beauty blender. This just gives me a little bit more control, especially when I get up to the eyeshadow. I like to lay that flat on its side and then blend downwards. That just stops us blending all over that nice gradient that we've created on the side of the eye. I'm also going to use the mini sponge just to go down my nose, just to give a bit more control in that area as well. And for the other areas of the face, I'm going to switch over to a Real Technique sponge and just blend that all in. So I'm just going to set my under eye using the Perfectly Sculpted Contour Powder Palette by Jolie Beauty. And for my under eyes, I'm just going to take the Real Techniques Blender Sponge and take this light shade here and just pop that straight under the eyes. I also like to bring this slightly into the nose as well, just on the sides. I'm going to set my chin with the same shade. For the rest of my face, I'm going to set with this middle shade here, and I'm using the number 1 face brush from the Mythical Dreamers set, and I'm just going to quickly swirl that on the rest of the face. This just stops when you're laying down your powder contour. It will stop it looking clunky. So if you put dark contour shades straight onto a liquid base, it can stick in patches, and that's why you don't get a nice smooth look. Great, so that's the base set all around. I'm just going to warm up the face a little bit with this shade here, and this is a great in-between bronzer for somebody that's got my kind of skin tone. I'm just going to warm up the forehead a little bit with the same brush, big bronzer brush, down onto the cheeks a little bit, just keeping nice big swirling motions, and then just down onto the neck a little bit just to blend it into your body. Don't forget your ears. Okay, so I'm going to go in and put a little bit of contour down. Now the face is warmed up, and I'm going to use the number 4 brush, which is made for this job. So it's made to kind of carve out those cheekbones. The shade I'm going to use is this one right here. Because I have quite a thin shaped face, I don't want to bring this too far in. If you've got a rounder face, you can really sculpt, but because mine's quite thin anyway, all I want to do is add a little bit of dimension there. So I'm going to keep it quite far back. So I like to stipple the shade on where I want the shadow to begin with. And then I'll go in with a fluffier brush. This is the number 6 face brush. And just go in and blend that line upwards. You can even go back in with a little bit of that bronzer shade again, just to soften it if you'd like. And that helps it blend it into your skin. Just adds a little bit of dimension back into the face. I also like to use this shade underneath my chin. So I'm just going to do that now, just to give a little bit more definition, especially in this area. Make sure that you've got that line nice and blended out with a bigger brush, because you don't want to go out with just a really obvious contour line on your chin. I don't always fully contour my nose, but if I'm gonna add a little bit of definition, I will take the number 1 eye brush, which is a really kind of fat, fluffy brush, and I'll just dust a little bit of that same contour shade just underneath my nose. I always try and give the illusion that my nose is a bit shorter because I've got an extended tip there, so I just dust a little bit of that, and I sometimes just pop a little bit here as well. I don't always wear blush, but today I'm going to add just a little bit of colour because we've got so much colour going on the eyes. So I'm going to take this palette by Makeup Revolution. I don't know if it's got a name. Yeah, it's called the Sugar and Spice palette. And I'm just going to take this second colour here, which is like a muted nudie coral. This is going on the number 6 face brush. I'm just going to dust a little bit that on the apples of my cheeks. I also like to just neaten up my contour here sometimes. So for that, I'll just take the palest shade in the contour palette with the same brush, and I'll just dust it underneath where that line is, just to reverse contour a little bit. That just gives me a bit more of a chiseled looking cheekbone. Okay, let's get back to the eyes and finish off the under eye area. So to do a nice smoky under eye, I normally like to use a pencil brush. This is the number 9 eye brush from the Mythical Dreamers. And then I'll take the number 7 brush, which is a small blending brush. What I'm going to do is take the darker shade that we used on the top, which is Stun, right here, and I'm going to start that off with the pencil brush and just run it, shall we say 3/4 of the way underneath my eye. I really want to connect the colours here as well, so this all blends in beautifully together. So I'm going to stop that colour right underneath my pupil, and that kind of mirrors what I've got going on the top. It doesn't mirror it, but it gives contrast to that yellow that we've popped right in the centre. And then I'm just going to take that blending brush and the player shade here, and I'm just going to run that slightly on top and underneath just to give a little bit of depth. And I'll bring the player shade slightly further in. Just use the lightest hand that you've got for blending. I always find I'm quite scared to go low with the blending of this, but really if it's lovely and blended out, you can go quite low with it. You can afford to get really down in there without it looking too much. So I've had some transfer from my eyeliner into the inner corner. So I'm just gonna make sure that part of the eye is nice and clear, just because that can make your eyes look a little bit small. There you go. And I'm just gonna pop some more mascara on my lower lashes just to finish that off. So I'm going to top this look off with some lashes. These are the style Daisy. To pop them on, I'm going to be using eyelash applicators and of course the Lash Lock glue as well. So I'm just making sure the fit is adequate before I pop them on. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of the Lash Lock glue. So this glue is clear, so it's really, really good for creative looks because it doesn't leave any white marks. And you just need to let it dry for approximately 30 seconds before you put it on. So always leave it to go tacky. Then when you're ready, just go in from above your natural lashes. Try and get the middle on first, and then you can adjust the edges. I'm just going to pop a little bit of highlight on my eyes. So I'm using the Mary Luminizer. I don't know what shade this is, but this is well loved. That's by the Balm Cosmetics. And I'm just going to pop a little bit on the inner corner of my eyes using the number 6 flat brush. And just a little bit underneath my eyebrow as well. A small amount down the centre of my nose. And then with the number 3 eye brush, which is quite a loosely packed fluffy brush, I'm just going to pop a little bit on the tops of my cheekbones and then just blend in where I've popped that with a clean fluffy brush. I then just like to mist my face with a little bit of the Mario Badescu Rose Water. That just stops all the powders looking heavy. For lips, I'm just going to quickly line them with the Jordana Easy Liner, and this is in the shade Cabernet. I'm going to be using the Air Matte Liquid Lipstick in the shade Cabernet as well, which is such a coincidence. Honestly, didn't look when I picked them up. So there you have it, guys, the completed look. I'm not sure what I'm going to call it yet. I suppose it's a full look with a little bit of a subtle halo eye. I hope you really enjoyed this tutorial. We are going to be giving away a Vivacious palette. To be in with a chance of winning, all you have to do is give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and then comment below your favourite ever Netflix series. The winner will be announced on the 25th of November. Good luck everyone, and thanks for watching today.